The Soundcore Space Q45s are an amazing value for any frequent flyer because they block out an above average amount of noise for a pair of entry-level ANC headphones, and they have a very impressive battery life. And in general, the Space Q45s try to punch way above their weight class. So today, we're going to see how the Space Q45s compare to the Sony XB910Ns, which are a pair of mid-tier ANC headphones that I personally really like, and I actually feel that this is a very fair comparison. We're going on pricing. The Sony XB910Ns have a retail price of $250. However, they routinely like to go on sale for $180, and on major shopping holidays, they might even go on sale for a little less. Now, these things came out in the fall of 2021, and personally, I am expecting to see their successors, the Sony XB920Ns, in the fall of 2023. But then, there are the Soundcore Space Q45s, and these things retail for $150, and they were released in the fall of 2022. Nonetheless, if you want to pick either of these two headphones up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch shelf down below. I've made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great, and if you've been watching me for a while, you know I can be very particular, so I'll only set my name on something that I'm really proud of. Now first, let's talk about their included cases. Now both of these headphones come included with decently sized hard shell cases, so if you plan on traveling with either of these two headphones, their cases are going to keep them perfectly safe if you try to cram them into a cramped backpack. Now, I would expect to see this type of case with the XB910Ns because these are a pair of mid-tier ANC headphones, but I am surprised to see this type of hard shell case come included with the Q45s because these are a pair of entry-level ANC headphones. Nonetheless, both of these headphones come included with decent cases. But now let's talk about the headphones themselves. From a build quality standpoint, both of these headphones are fully collapsible and they can be laid down flat. They both have mostly plastic bodies, and both of these headphones are using new plastic, and they both have good feeling leatherette. However, quality-wise, I can't help but feel that the XB910Ns just feel noticeably more premium than the Q45s. The leatherette feels better, the plastic feels sturdier, the points of articulation swivel smoother, and they have a better sounding click to them, and the tolerances on the XB910Ns are just tighter. Both of these headphones have decent build quality, but the XB910Ns just feel better. And when it comes to fit, overall the XB910Ns are just more comfortable than the Q45s. Now, when it comes to clamping force, both of these headphones have a neutral amount of clamping force, as in they aren't too tight and they aren't too loose. So they are big head approved, and they also fit very well with hats. However, when it comes to their weight, the Space Q45s weigh in at 298 grams, whereas the XB910Ns weigh in at 252 grams. Now, in general, the Q45s weigh an average amount for a pair of premium ANC headphones. However, with the XB910Ns weighing in at 252 grams, these are just a lot easier to forget that you're wearing while you're sitting at your desk or lying in bed, and you notice their weight shifting around a lot less when you're walking around with them on than with the Q45s. But also, there's their padding. The padding underneath the headband on the Q45s is very soft, and there isn't a lot of it. So I noticed that at the 1 hour mark, this headband does like to create a hot spot on the top of your head, because the padding just gets all the way compressed. So I have to take these headphones off and take a break. Whereas with the XB910Ns, this headband has a lot more padding, and hotspots aren't an issue for these headphones. But then there are their earpads. Now, both of these headphones have very spacious earpads, and they should both have no problem fitting most ear types. However, the earpads on the XB910Ns are more spacious than the earpads on the Q45s because they're deeper. Even with my average size ears, I can feel the earpads on the Q45s pressing down on my cartilage, which does get uncomfortable after a while. Whereas, that isn't an issue for the XB910Ns. So overall, the XB910Ns just feel more premium because they have better feeling materials and they feel better put together. And they're also more comfortable because they're lighter, their headband has more padding, and their earpads are more spacious. But now let's talk about tech specs. When it comes to battery life, this is an area where the Q45 simply just outclass the XB910Ns and a lot of other headphones out there. Now, the Q45s have an advertised battery life of 50 hours with the active noise cancellation turned on, which is way above average, whereas with the XB910Ns, they have an advertised battery life of 30 hours. However, with both of these headphones, you can always extend their battery lives by using them with the active noise cancellation turned off. But with the Q45s, these are good for up to 65 hours, whereas the XB910Ns are good for up to 38 hours. Now, when it comes to charging these headphones, they both charge via a USB-C port, as they should. However, their fast charging numbers are pretty different. With the Q45s, if you were to plug them in for 5 minutes from a dead battery, they're going to get you 4 hours playback time, whereas with the XB910Ns, if you were to plug them in for 10 minutes from a dead battery, they're going to get you 4.5 hours of playback time. Now, when it comes to Bluetooth connectivity, both of these headphones can be connected to 2 devices at the same time, which is good if you're a power user, because this way you can use your headphones with both your phone and your computer at the same time, and they don't necessarily have to be into the same ecosystem. And when it comes to overall performance, both of these headphones have 0 latency across the board when watching movies or videos on your phone, whether you're using an iPhone or an Android device. And when it comes to audio codecs, both of these headphones have support for SBC, AAC, and LDAC, which is Sony's own in-house high-res audio codec. However, just keep in mind that if you want to use LDAC, you do have to be an Android user because iPhones top out at AAC. Also keep in mind, if you want to use LDAC, then these headphones will only be able to be connected to one device at a time. And also keep in mind, if you do decide to use LDAC, that is going to take an additional toll on the battery life. But if you want to, you can always just use a wired connection with either of these two headphones because they both still have a 3.5mm audio jack and they both still come included with audio cables. Now, I know this sounds very basic, but I do have to point this out because some headphone manufacturers are starting to remove the headphone jack on their headphones. And personally, I do feel that this is premature, especially if you're a frequent flyer. But now let's talk about actually listening to music with these headphones. Now, with both of these headphones, they sound good enough to get the job done, but these headphones don't have the best instrument separation. So they can sound a little narrow and their instrumentals can get lost a little bit. These headphones are mostly bass and vocals. But with both of these headphones, they both have a customizable EQ, so you can make them sound however you want. However, the XB910Ns sound and perform much better than the Q45s. With the XB910Ns, these things have an above average amount of physicality in their bass. If you go into their EQ and if you raise their clear bass slider, they're really going to rattle your head. Now, all of this physicality in their bass is a lot of dumb fun, but this extra physicality in their bass also adds an extra level of immersiveness when watching movies with these headphones. Whereas with the Q45s, these headphones aren't really going to rattle your head because their bass is mostly on the audible side, and even though they do have a bass up feature, this setting still isn't going to make these headphones rattle your head, and instead it does make them sound very shallow because the bass and low ends on these headphones just become so overpowering and muddy. Whereas the bass on the XB910N is its own entity. It doesn't become overpowering or muddy. So overall, sound quality wise, even though the XB910Ns don't sound amazing, they sound and perform much better than the Q45s. Plus, the extra bass feature on the XB910N does add an extra level of immersiveness when watching movies with these headphones, which is something that isn't found on a lot of other headphones out there. Now, when it comes to controlling your media, the Q45s are using physical buttons, and these physical buttons are easy to find and they have a good tactile click to them. But with the XB910Ns, these have a touchpad. Now, this touchpad is very easy to use and it's very accurate, but I know some people are very anti-touchpad on their headphones. So for some people, the physical buttons on the Q45s could be a deciding factor. But now let's talk about the active noise cancellation on these headphones. The Space Q45s block out an above average amount of noise for a pair of entry-level ANC headphones. However, the Sony XB910Ns, which are a pair of mid-tier ANC headphones, these are at the same level as the Space Q45s. But so that you can see for yourself, we're going to jump into the ANC test. So like you may have just seen, the Sony XB910Ns do a noticeably better job of blocking out low frequency sounds like road noise or airplane noise than the Q45s. With the Q45s, they let in a lot of higher pitched noise during the road noise portion of the test. However, when it comes to blocking out chatter, the Q45s did a better job of blocking out those higher frequency sounds than the XB910N. Overall, I would say that the XB910N would be better suited for your bus ride commute or for the airplane, whereas the Q45s would be better for the cafeteria. However, with the Q45s, they do have noticeably more cabin pressure than the XB910N, whereas cabin pressure isn't a problem for the XB910N. But with the Q45s, you can go in and reduce their active noise cancellation, and if you reduce them down to 3, then they aren't going to have as much cabin pressure, but then they aren't going to block out as much noise. Overall, I do think the XB910N have the better performing ANC here, but nonetheless, the ANC on the Q45s is very impressive for a pair of entry-level ANC headphones. But now let's talk about the ambient mode on these headphones. Now, both of these headphones have a decent sounding ambient mode and you can adjust them to your liking. However, the ambient mode on the XB910N just sounds more natural. But more importantly, the ambient mode on the XB910N is the active kind, meaning that they will actively block out sudden loud sounds like this. So like you just saw, with the XB910N, when they detected that loud siren, they turned off their ambient mode and protected your ears from just getting blasted, and when that siren stopped, they turned their ambient mode back on. And I think this is great if you're walking around the city. Whereas with the Q45s, they just let in everything. But also, with both of these headphones, they have a talk mode, or Sony calls it quick attention, where you can talk to someone without having to remove your headphones, like this. Now, I think that having this type of feature is very useful, especially if you're traveling with your headphones. However, with the Q45s, you can only have your ambient mode or talk mode, not both. Whereas with the XB910N, you have both your ambient mode and quick attention mode. So overall, I am going to have to say that the XB910N have a significantly better ambient mode than the Q45s, which I feel is very important for commuters and constant flyers. But finally, here's the microphone test. Now, I feel that both of these headphones have a decent enough sounding microphone to take phone calls with while in a quiet room. But I do feel the microphone on the Q45s does sound a little more robotic. But the microphone on the Q45s does a much better job of dealing with noise pollution than the microphone found on the XB910N. Because with the XB910Ns, these are trying to reduce this road noise, but you can still hear a decent amount of road noise in the background, and there is a noticeable amount of interference going on with my voice. Now, when it comes to blocking out chatter, these are doing a decent job. And the Q45s are also doing a decent job, but I do feel that this microphone is blocking out a little bit more chatter than the microphone found on the XB910N. So overall, I feel that both the XB910Ns and Q45s have decent enough sounding microphones on them, but I do think that with the Q45s, you're going to be able to get away with a little bit more noise pollution. But with all that being said, the Soundcore Space Q45s are a great value for any frequent flyer because they block out an impressive amount of noise, and they also have a very impressive battery life. Plus, they also come included with a decent hard shell carrying case, and these are a pair of entry-level ANC headphones. However, when compared to the Sony XB910Ns, which I feel is a fair comparison, I just feel that the XB910Ns are more comfortable, they're better built, they have a better performing ambient mode, and they sound better. So personally for me, I do prefer the Sony XB910Ns over the Soundcore Space Q45s. I feel they're just the better long-term investment. However, if you're looking to block out the most amount of noise without spending the big bucks, then you might want to go with the Soundcore Space Q45. Q45s. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.